What's up, everybody? It's your boy Rodney James for Cage Side Press, joined by my good buddy, and y'all know him. He's a coach over at American Top Team, UFC legend. Of course, I'm talking about Coach Dean Thomas. How you doing, Dean? And we already lost him. Hot damn. Are you
there?
Yeah.
Yo,
What's up, bud?
you there? Man, good to hear from you, man. I hope this works out all right. I'm driving, so like sometimes I might hit a little patch or two.
Yeah. No problem. I understand the patches we got to go through sometimes. Look, I brought you on today as a co-host in the wake of UFC 247 because, well, you're one of my favorite people to break down fights with, but also this one's kind of it's kind of in your backyard in a few ways because you're kind of close to the situation. I wanted to talk about the main event and the co-main event because, number one, last time out, Jon Jones defended his title. You helped Thiago Santos prepare for him because he's out of American Top Team. And then, of course, in the co-main event, we have Bullet Valentina Shevchenko, who is sort of become a natural rival to your girl Amanda Nunes. So I want to talk about that. But first, Coach Dean, how did you score the UFC 247 main event?
Honestly, I thought that the first round was pretty clear. The last two rounds were pretty clear. But then, like, I wasn't scoring. I mean, and this is just from, like, watching it, like, from a fan perspective and just, like, studying, like, a skill perspective. But I wasn't watching it from a judging and scoring perspective. I've still yet to do that. I want to go back and do that and, like, and score it accurately because I didn't have a chance to do that. But, honestly, like, if you said Jon Jones won, I'm like, okay, cool. If you said Dominick Reyes won, I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, to me, it seemed that close to where, like, either guy could have won just based on, what the judges were looking for. Now, that's the real problem is that we don't actually know how to score fights because nothing is really that quantifiable. So that's the real problem on why we have so many, all these scores all over the place. But at the end of the day, like, I didn't really score it, accurately just because I didn't watch it from that perspective. I will go back and watch it from that perspective. But they said Jon Jones won. From what I saw, okay, fine.
Okay, so let me understand this. So the first two rounds you thought were clear for Dominick Reyes. The third one was a little murky. Fourth and fifth clearly for Jones. Just to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm seeing. And I did not go back and watch it either. And I plan to do that. Actually, I was planning to do it sometime today. But of course, Monday always has a way of sneaking up on you with all kinds of stuff that you fell behind on. So in any case, I'm going to try to get that done today or tomorrow. But yeah, I felt the same way. Personally, at the end of the second round, I said, damn. I turned to my wife. I said, did Jon Jones, is he getting his ass whipped? Is Jon Jones getting his ass whipped for the first two rounds? I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
No, I mean, not like that. I mean, he was being outthought, like he was getting beat to the punch. He was getting outthought. And looked, I mean, Dominick Reyes did a really good job, in preparation to find them holes on Jon Jones. And he was able to find them. But again, like, Jon is so good, man. He's always able to make the adjustment to see if other guys can make an adjustment back. And Dominick Reyes wasn't able to do that.
Well, we've talked about this in the past, especially, in the lead up to Thiago Santos fighting Jon Jones. We were discussing, possible strategies and, just to kind of refresh your memory, some things that I had suggested. And of course, I'm not the expert, but it was just ideas that I felt like nobody had ever really tried. Because if you recall, we talked about how a lot of guys seem to behave as if they're wearing ice skates and they're on the ice while Jon Jones is standing on grass wearing cleats. And
yeah.
and I said, one thing we have yet to see is anybody just come out and just really take it to him. And I don't mean like get over aggressive and get crazy and get stupid, because you definitely don't want to do that against Jones. He makes adjustments on the fly like no other. But goddamn, Dominick Reyes came out ready to win that fight. I mean, he just took it right to Jon Jones. And again, for two rounds, I looked at my wife and said, that's what you got to do. You cannot stand there and wait, because if you do, he's just going to figure you out. He's going to pick you apart. And I think that's kind of what he started to do in the later rounds.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I think Dominick Reyes got a little tired too. I mean, and that's part of the game though. Like if you have the ability and the skill set to take it to Jon Jones early in fights like that, it's going to take some energy to do it. And can you sustain that is the question. And Dominick Reyes couldn't sustain it. And I think it's very evident, because in the fourth and fifth round, he really had nothing left. And it wasn't because he was, getting beat up. It was just because he gave it all in the first 2 rounds. He did everything he could to Jon Jones in the first 2 rounds, I think. But it'll be interesting to see if they rematch, how they approach that, because I think both of them have to fight maybe a slightly different fight, or if not the same fight, but at different moments of the fight. And Dominick Reyes will have to do a better job of pacing himself. But that's the thing with Jon, is if you pace yourself, he's going to eat you up. So that's what I'm saying. Jon is a difficult guy to fight, man. Like, you have to take it to him the way Dominick Reyes did, but can you sustain it is the question. Because if you can't sustain it, you're going to get eaten up.
Yeah, and the rematch is a possible fight that people have talked about. Some people are against the immediate rematch. I get it. There's not a whole hell of a lot going on at the top of light heavyweight. The official rankings just came out today. I joined the panel actually a couple of weeks ago, so I put my votes in yesterday. The official rankings are out. So as it stands right now, you have the 1 through 4 guys in light heavyweight. Jon's beat them all. And this weekend, actually, you got the number 5 and the number 6 guy in Corey Anderson and Jan Blachowicz that are fighting in a rematch. Of course, there's potentially some Jon Jones title fight implications with that, especially with Corey if he wins impressively, because, well, either one obviously wants that. But Corey has been really, really vocal about how, he thinks that he's the guy and he's going to be the one to crack the code and this and that. And, of course, we've heard that before. My point is this. I don't know about you. I'm not really crazy about that fight. I don't know that I'm crazy about an immediate rematch either. For me personally, I would almost rather see, while Jon Jones still has that youth and he's still on top of the world, just go on ahead and fight Stipe for the heavyweight title. That's what I like. Or if Izzy Adesanya can get past your boy Romero, if he can get past him next month here in Las Vegas, then maybe he goes up and he challenges Jon Jones. I don't know. I think Jones is the shot caller in that situation. What of those fights, if any, make sense to you?
I mean, they all make sense. They all actually, those like super fights make more sense than a fight with Corey Anderson.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this about a guy like Corey Anderson, because I think he's a great guy. I think he's a very much improved fighter. But at the end of the day, this is all a game of entertainment. It's all a TV show, and you have to kind of be a star to get them parts. And sad to say it, but a guy like Corey Anderson is not a star. He's not a draw, and neither was Dominick Reyes. But I think that was a fight just based on Jon Jones wanted to fight to stay active. But if Jon Jones doesn't want to stay active, there's no way in hell they're going to let a guy like Corey Anderson fight him. It makes more sense to have Dominick Reyes rematch. It makes more sense to even wait for a guy like Thiago Santos to have a rematch. Or it just makes more sense to have Jon Jones do a super fight and have a fight with a guy like Corey Anderson, because he doesn't draw any attention to a fight of that size.
Yeah, man, and this one was big. This one was a big draw. There's still a lot of buzz. People are still talking about it for good and bad reasons, But yeah, man. So now that you mention it, actually, I think Thiago Santos and Reyes for a potential rematch with Jon Jones actually is more intriguing than any of those guys in his division. And, of course, a lot of people moan and groan about the super fights. But, I mean, if Jon Jones were to go up and challenge for the heavyweight belt, I mean, I think that's a super fight that's not gimmicky at all. It makes a lot of sense. It's not one that's a cash grab. That's like a legitimate, okay, we know Stipe is the baddest man on the planet at this point. And we know Jon Jones is too. So we got to figure out which one is really the man. But, size does matter. So who knows, man? And of course, speaking of size, prior to Reyes, Jones is also fighting guys who are prior middleweights. I think Corey Anderson even falls into that category, if I'm not mistaken.
He might. I'm not 100% sure, but the thing is, like, size matters, but speed also matters too. And I think that Jon is just would be too fast for Stipe. I really do believe that. Like, if you watch when Stipe fought uh, Cormier the last fight, he just took too many punches, man. And like, if Jon were able to pick him apart that way, Jon is a little bit more diverse and dangerous of a striker. I don't know if he's not a power puncher or anything like that, but he's a little bit more diverse and dangerous of a striker than Daniel Cormier. I just think he would eat a guy like Stipe up.
Yeah, maybe. I'd see, and that's why we got to see it, because
Yeah.
you're on the completely other end of it as I am. So, okay, so another thing, and I talked about kind of the good, bad, and ugly of this weekend has everybody still talking, and I'm seeing, of course, a ton, and I saw you kind of reach out a comment on it as well on Twitter. A lot of people are saying, a lot of complaining about the judging. Now, here's what I'll say about the main event as far as the judging goes. I mean, I'm with you. I agree 100%. When I heard 48-47 for Jones, I was not mad at that. Of course, 49-46 for Jones is completely insane, because that would imply that, okay, you gave him round 3, which is, we can agree, is definitely a swing round for sure. But round 1 and 2, I mean, you would have to give either one of the, and I'm not sure which one that particular judge gave to Jon. But that same judge gave a round to Trayvon Giles where James Krause had nearly submitted him, had his back for like 2-3 minutes, and then there was another bad decision on there too. So I don't know, man. You and I have discussed in the past that we have to figure out a way to kind of get away from the boxing model, and if that includes not dealing with those crooked commissions and tweaking the way that we score this. What are your thoughts, though? How can we – I can't think of a system unless we just built a new one from the ground up.
Well, I mean, this sport was built from the ground up, just, less than 30 years ago. Why can't we? I mean, these guys are still using number 2 pencils, these half number 2 pencils to write these scores down. Like, why don't they just – it should be digital. It should be posted at the end of each round. It should be digital.
Like a lotto ticket. Mini golf.
Yes.
The little mini golf pencil.
It should be.
Right.
That's what they're using to score fights. $1 billion industry, and this is what these idiots are using. It should be digital, and it should be tallied and posted at the end of each round, so the guys know exactly what they need to do. They need to be done within 30 seconds, so the guys know exactly what they need to do in order to make adjustments in the fight. Because I'm telling you, fights would be completely different if guys knew the actual score going into these rounds. And also, I mean, and that's just to solve that problem. But, I mean, it needs to be clear cut. I mean, in football, if you score a touchdown, that's 6 points. You know it's 6 points. You kick a field goal, that's 3 points. You know that. In our sport, it's like you can punch a guy in the face, but you don't know what his score. You don't know how much that weighs. What you're going to. So, I mean, it's just, and like, you got to find out. Entertainer, you got to paid more to win, and you're jeopardizing that bullshit way of fights.
Kind of broke up a little bit. Say that last part again, there, Coach.
What I'm saying is that guys lively, and when you have this bullshit way of scoring fights to determine
well, I'm kind of losing you again here, but let me just interject real quick too. And I've heard, some, and we've talked about that in the past too. I've heard some other interesting takes as far as like the score being displayed. I mean, that's one thing. But I guess like in the other sports, especially team sports, the score is not, it's not subjective at all. It's very clear cut. You shoot outside the arc, you got 3 points in basketball. You kick a field goal, you got 3 points in football. It's very clear. The way people score the fights is what's inconsistent. And so, but if you try to fix that problem, say, okay, let's unify this or let's figure out a different way to score it. Well, now we're still dealing with the commissions, and we still are at the mercy of a political organization that may or may not have people who are qualified and may not really give a shit because you can't, you can't really control them. So they're kind of going to dictate the terms to you, like, hey, we're going to use our judges, and if you don't, tough shit, we're sanctioning your event, and so that's really the only choice you have. So to me, it's almost like the root of the problem would be to divorce the UFC from these state commissions altogether, because, like you said, 30 years ago we started out. Boxing was the closest thing that you could go with, which is why the 10-point must system came over, which is why these shady commissions came with them as well. And you and I have both dealt with commissions a lot, and they could be pretty arrogant. Am I off base with that? Am I out of school with that comment?
No, you're 100% correct. And that's exactly what I was talking about when I was breaking up. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I was talking exactly about that, is how inconsistent they are. But my main point of that is that we're in a sport where most contracts are done to where guys are getting paid extra to win, more often than not double to win. And now, because you have this terrible scoring and judging system, guys are being punished. They're being punished by losing fights that they might have won, and it's affecting their livelihood. Something needs to be done about this. I mean, first off, I think guys should get flat fees anyway. But the reality is that, like, you could go out there and lose a fight because of poor judging and go home with half your money because of poor judging.
No, I seriously think there have been, and other people agree, that there have actually been fights that were scored where the judge probably mistakenly put the score they intended to on the wrong person because they didn't know who they were. And again, I look at it, I go, well, if we could take, because these people are not MMA people. These folks who are judging these fights are not MMA people at all most of the time. And you know what? A lot of them don't know what they're looking at. And guess what? You can't really train them to do that. Like, people like me and you, we're engrossed in this sport. We live and breathe mixed martial arts every single day in some way or another. These are people who probably don't even know who many people are outside of Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey. And then they get in there, and again, these guys' livelihood falls into their hands. If you replace them with somebody better, that works. But I guess what I'm saying is the commissions themselves, being a state government organization, any government organization is like, once you get into a position, you basically have to die before that position becomes open again. So if a qualified person or 100 qualified people are willing to do the job for half the money, that doesn't matter. It's a government job. You're locked in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's terrible because it really does affect the sport, which is, everything is always convenient. It's like, oh, well, it's not a sport, it's prize fighting. Well, you know what? Then let's treat it like that then. Let's just make it prize fighting and not even try to call it a sport, even though for the last 30 years, we bent over backwards to try to prove that we're a sport. But then when it's convenient, it's prize fighting and it doesn't matter and blah, 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 blah. But then it's convenient when it's a sport. Yeah, let's legalize it because it's a sport. Come on, man. We got to get on the same page with this. And for me, that page is to make this a sport. Let's legitimize everything. Let's make sure that everybody's taken care of. And let's make sure that everybody is consistent. I mean, there's obviously going to be human error. There's human error and everything. But we need to try to get more consistent with the scoring. And you need to post them damn scores. I'm sorry.
And I can see why you feel that way. And I feel that way as well. And again, many people who are close to this sport, who rely on it for a revenue stream of income of some sort, especially because at the end of the day, the more that we do to, high tides raise all the boats, and we're all just trying to get a little bit of our share to increase in value. And yeah, if people are still looking at us from the outside, and the main story that has transitioned into the mainstream Monday morning is not even about the athletic excellence we witnessed, but about the fuckery that's going on. That's a problem. It makes us look bad.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, we're now at the point where, like, casual people are paying attention to it. And, and I think the sport is wide open. Like, there's no more football season right now except for the XFL, but there's no more football season. This was a big opportunity for, like, anybody who had never seen MMA or just, like, casual fans to see MMA to witness a fight, to be educated on it, and to, just see greatness. And then these not one bad decision, but but all night bad decisions. It's crazy because now people that don't know a lot about the sport are gonna be like, yo, what the hell is this that I'm watching? I thought boxing was corrupt. This is worse than boxing.
Yeah, what are these like incompetent people doing? They don't even know what's going on, and yeah, they immediately are going to associate those judges who I've emphatically declared on this discussion that they're not MMA people. We do not claim them as part of in our bubble. They're just kind of a necessary evil. They're just there. All right. So speaking of evil, your girl Amanda Nunes, baddest female on the planet, double champ. Her rival, it seems, has become Valentina, who just can't seem to get a win over. Valentina had a great win this weekend. Pretty much went how I thought it would go. Actually, I didn't even think she would finish the fight, and she did. I thought it would probably just go the distance, but I favored her to win the fight. If you're looking at the landscape, though, for her and even Amanda, who doesn't want the boxing match with Clarissa Shields, even though Clarissa apparently is continuing to train MMA. She's been sharing a lot of that on social media. Amanda has no interest in that. So I'm looking at the horizon for Nunes and Shevchenko, and I go, well, you got nothing left to prove, but you clearly still want to keep doing this. So why not go for one more? What do you think, Coach?
I mean, honestly, it's a desperation move, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just a desperation move because the division is pretty thin and pretty weak. And I hate to say that because it sounds like I'm taking away from the accomplishments of both young ladies, and I think that they're great, great fighters, regardless of gender. But Amanda beat her twice. You know what I'm saying? Like you could say she's her rival, but Amanda has 2 wins over her. She beat her twice. It wasn't like, and none of them were controversial. Like she beat this girl twice. 8 rounds. So she may have lost 2 of the 8. So I just don't think that Amanda certainly doesn't need that fight. Amanda could do what she wants. I think. I mean, would it interest you if you beat somebody twice and everybody's like, hey, you need to fight this girl to prove that you're better than her? Like, what are you talking about? I beat her twice.
It's a hard sell. And we don't see a lot of those. I mean, I can't think of many off the top of my head. I mean, I remember Rampage fighting Vanderlei for a 3rd time when he beat him twice and he knocked him out. So you never know. But it is a hard sell initially because you're right. I mean, the appeal is, well, okay, I got these 2 big stars who have really peaked, who've really just reached their full potential in the sport, gotten to the pinnacle, to the highest level. And Amanda has not only done that, but she's actually set herself apart even further by having a championship in 2 weight classes simultaneously and being the only female to do so. But it's like I said, it's kind of like, what is there really left? So I'll just put it in your court as far as like Amanda goes, for example, being a girl that's out of your gym that you work with. What would you even propose?
I like for her, let these other girls at 135 sort themselves out. But I just don't see the reason why Amanda would have to post. I mean, it's kind of a step down, not a step down to fight Valentina, but it's something that she's already proven that she could do. Why make her run through hurdles just to prove that she's the best in the world? I mean, since she beat Valentina, her strength of schedule was harder than Valentina's. She beat better girls than Valentina did. Like Valentina beat Jessica Ai and then Caitlin Chikagan. They're good, but they're not Jermaine Aronimi, and they're not Cyborg. Amanda beat both of them.
Bigger
so,
girls
why does
too.
Amanda have to go backwards?
Bigger girls.
Bigger and better girls. Yeah. So Amanda, I don't see the need for Amanda to feel as though she has to prove herself to Valentina. She just doesn't have to. So for me, Amanda, if she doesn't have to prove anything, she should just stay where she's at and just keep collecting her checks and fighting the next girl in line, unless Valentina wants to move up in weight and challenge her there. But I just don't see any reason why Amanda should have to call Valentina out, or this burden of proof is on Amanda to prove anything to Valentina because she's already beaten her twice.
Yeah, and in this talent pool, I'm talking strictly in the female side. There's just in this organization, there's just not much left. And even if you look outside the organization, I mean, there's not really much going on there either, because you have you have some girls like Cyborg who have already moved on, and of course, I know Dana claims that they tried to get that rematch repeatedly, and that Cyborg didn't want to do it. So, and of course, that ship sailed a while ago. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I'm seeing. So, what else? Anything else spectacular stick out to you on UFC 247? I just have one. There's this guy, Chaos Williams, came out in his debut.
Oh yeah,
welterweight guy. And
it's Alex Morano, right?
Yeah, and Alex Morano is a good fighter. I mean, he's
he is.
He's a good finisher. Just fun to watch. Put together a nice little record in the UFC since making his debut against Kyle Noak, and he won the upset in his debut. But speaking of winning upsets, I mean, damn, this guy looks like the real deal. A few others. What'd you think of that? Anything else stick out to you?
No, nothing really stuck out to me. I mean, again, like it sucks like when you have this card and like the main thing that sticks out is like poor judging. But now you're right that the Chaos Williams, he looked fantastic. Danny I can't pronounce it. Is it
Danny Ige? Yeah.
He's just proved that he's just, could be a contender by beating Mursad, because Mursad was a damn good fighter. But Ige proved that he could be a contender. I think that also sticks out. But that's about it. I mean, this card, it wasn't a spectacular card in terms of like what transpired, or even from a name perspective. But it was a showcase for some young fighters to get seen. But nothing really stuck out. But except for, I think, like you said, Chaos Williams, and then Dan Ige. I thought he did a good job against Mursad.
All right,
that one out.
So what do you got coming up? I don't know if it's official. Isn't Tyron fighting Leon Edwards? I think that they made that official, didn't they?
Yeah, that is official. That's
in
March.
London, yeah.
Yeah, in London, March 21st in London, and that is official. In fact, me and Tyron, we should be headed out to Thailand in a couple of weeks to just go out there and get away from everything and just get the training on.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
So what brought that decision on? Did you sit him down and say, look, man, you're doing too much. You're trying to be a trap artist and an actor and all this, man. Get your head back in the game and let's go overseas and train.
He knew. I mean, that was all on him. He knew before that, like, he was, taking on too much, and he was in Thailand like a few weeks ago, and he really enjoyed it and thought he was very focused, and he liked what he had out there. So we're gonna go back and do some more to camp out there. So.
Nice.
So yeah, I think
in particular,
he's gonna try to make a comeback.
Anybody in particular, like AKA Thailand, Mike Swick and them guys, or just?
Yeah, he's actually with Swick and those guys at AKA. So
very cool.
We'll be making our way back over there.
Very great place to be. Well, beware of Phil Baroni. He might be around, and he's quite a lunatic. So just keep away from him.
Yeah, I've been around him quite a bit.
Have you? So what I'm talking about.
Not quite a bit. Not quite a bit, but through the years.
Yeah. I
mean, for about 20 years, I've been like mixing around in circles with him. So
God bless him. Sweet guy. Has a great highlight reel, but he's crazy as a loon. Well, Coach, thanks for your time, man. Anything you want to plug before we get out of here? I know. What the hell is that? Where was that? Y'all were doing some cliff jumping on Dana White for a fight.
I knew you were going to forget. No, I definitely got to plug that. Make sure y'all watch Dana White Looking for a Fight in Hawaii. We went out to Hawaii. We got to hang out with Max Holloway and Rachel Ostovich, and we had a good time in Hawaii. So that just dropped Saturday night after UFC 247. So check that out, free on YouTube. Dana White Looking for a Fight. That's it, man. That's all I got.
Yes, sir. I will, man. Damn, I kind of wish I'd have watched it already so I could ask you some questions. Next time I will, though. But yeah, I saw that there was some cliff jumping kind of nonsense going on, and I thought, man, what the hell are they getting into this time, man? They didn't have you swimming with sharks, and they're trying to kill y'all, man.
They're trying to kill me. We're doing all these water sports, and they know I don't swim. It's crazy.
But I see you training, though, man. You got those water wings, and you got that 3.5 foot pool in your backyard. You'll be all right.
Be all right. I'll be all right.
You'll be ready for the triathlon before you know it. All right, Coach. Thanks again. Have a good evening, man. Stay blessed. Have a great week. Thank y'all for tuning in to Cage Side Press. He's Dean Thomas. I'm Rodney James.